Mindset Mashup podcast. Here we are. Another one. No DJ Khaled, but we're back again and I'm excited. I'm getting used to these now. I'm getting comfy. And you know what? I'm looking forward to this one. This guy, fitness, nutrition, he's transitioned from training face to face to online. The personal training industry, talks about mindset. Look, listen, I'm going to put his Instagram on in the comments. You need to go and check him out. But listen, Nate, welcome to the Mindset Mashup podcast. Welcome home, baby. How we doing?
Man, if I had a choice between listening to DJ Khaled and listening to you, George, I'm gonna take you every single time. You got that buttery voice, man. I love it.
Yeah, no, I've got a cold. I've got the flu, man.
You sound great. Whatever you're doing, it's working for you.
yeah, man. Well, listen, welcome. First of all, thanks for coming, and I'm really excited. So, look, we've got 30 minutes, so let's just go straight in. So, you started off within the personal training industry. Why? First of all, why did you go down that route?
So I started in this track in college, and I basically I was getting my degree in business, and I knew I was going to get into business and all these things. And I got denied from the business college I was going to, and they didn't let me in. So I was like, fine. So I basically took all my credits and I was like, what can I get for these? And they were like, I don't know, interdisciplinary studies. So I got a degree in something. I don't really even know what my degree is in, but it's in a bunch of things. I guess it's actually opened a lot of doors for me, because I don't have people are like, is it a business degree? I'm like, well, no, it's a psychology degree, when that suits me. Yeah. So I graduated in 2008. And if you remember 2008, there was not a lot of jobs for 21-year-olds. They were like, yeah, you have to have 10 years experience and we'll pay you $13 an hour. So
that was the crash, wasn't it? 2008
right.
is the crash in US for the listeners. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, there's just not a lot going on. So I was like, you know what I should do is just do a personal training job, because it's kind of, you set your own hours, you set your own schedule, you go out and you it's kill what you eat sort of thing. Nobody feeds you clients, so you have to go figure it out. So I had a background in sales. I had done door-to-door stuff before, and I was like, this is a really good fit. I love training. I love exercise. So got into it from that perspective there, and just fell in love with the process. It was always for me kind of like this stopgap of like, I'm going to do this until I figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And then once I started doing it and I started seeing people's lives change and started seeing yes, like it was amazing to see people get results and do better and stuff like that. But also the ability to be a 21, 22-year-old guy in the room with some of the people that I was training. Some of my clients were incredible people. I used to tell my wife, like, give me your problems. What problems does the world have? Because I can solve them tomorrow. I can solve them on a Thursday. My Thursday client crew, like CEO, startup guy, founder, this person, like professor. I just like amazing clients. And I got to talk to these people all the time and train them. So like from a people getting results and watching people transform their lives perspective, incredible. And from a ability to be in the room with like, where I'm the smart, like the dumbest person all the time. So awesome. And so I really fell in love with it from that perspective.
I love that perspective, because I often think when we as people either training someone or coaching someone, or sort of there's some form of like transaction there, we often think we need to be the ones to be educating. We need to be the ones that to like lead. And I think in times where we're in a professional relationship and in a session with someone and we can learn off them as much as they learn off us, I think that's a win, and I think that's a must. And the way I see some people I've been to lots of seminars, I've been in lots of coaching sessions, being coach and the coach. And I think when you got that perspective of, right, I'm going to learn from you just like you're going to learn from me, I think that's a good working relationship, you know?
Yeah, it was fantastic. So I loved that. And then, but I also realized that my life was super dictated by around like my clients' time, essentially. So I always worked those off hours. So people would come in before work and they'd come in after work. So I was working 5:30, 6 a.m. till like 6, 7, sometimes 8 o'clock p.m. And then I had the trainer donut. So I had like 11 to 2 off in the afternoon. And now I've got 2 little kids. I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old at home. And basically like, I just didn't see that being something that I wanted to do long-term, where all my time and my schedule is dictated by someone else. And I thought that online coaching would be a way to be able to reach more people with a method that I thought was really unique, but also be able to be around for my kids and take them to school and hang out after work and just have a little bit more flexibility and ability to design my life in a way that fits what my wife and I are creating.
What was that unique method?
So I call it glycogen priming. Basically, it is a style of carb backloading, but it's a very, very simple way of eating low carb that helps people not just lose weight and feel better, but it focuses in on your biorhythms and giving your body the fuel it needs at the time it needs it. So for example, a lot of people, if you think about like breakfast, and can I just talk shit on the UK breakfast real quick?
Yeah.
The English.
Yeah.
It's got like beans, it's got toast, and it's got a lot of high carb stuff in it, right? It's okay because in the US we're like eating Pop-Tarts out of the package over the sink like a rat. So it doesn't like no disrespect because we're over here just being gross. But like people are going to eat a banana, they're going to eat a Pop-Tart, they're going to eat a bagel, they're going to eat a muffin, these standard breakfast foods. What happens is your blood sugar spikes super high and then it crashes. And so when it spikes, you feel good for a second. When it crashes, you start feeling lethargy. You start wanting to go and take a nap underneath your desk and you feel hungry again because your body starts to signal yourself, hey, we need some blood sugar. We just had a huge crash. And so all day long, we exist in this up and down, spike, crash, where we're snacking all the time. We're just never feeling our best. And what I help people do is feel normal, and people will do my program. They get through it and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. And I'm like, you don't feel amazing. You feel how you're supposed to feel. That's just a baseline. We can get to like excellent, but like you just having energy all day, having mental acuity, being focused and being able to be happy and be optimistic all day. That's normal. That should be the baseline for you, not necessarily exceptional.
I love that. I feel like I'm taking something from that because I like the fact that that feeling of energy, that of excellence should be a normal standard, and everything above that should be you raising the bar, but it shouldn't ever be lower. And nutrition is definitely a way of getting there. I've got a personal trainer, and the nutritional advice I mean, we're working on portion size at the moment. Like that's not like I eat pretty healthy, but reducing portion size for me. I love food, but I know that's an area that sort of cutting back on. So it's interesting, and I've definitely noticed a difference in mental performance by doing things like that. And I feel great as much as I don't want to admit that, like because I want the portion sizes, but I feel good and I can't lie. And Nate, I want to go on. I want to go on to something I really admire about your style on Instagram. We've had chats outside. Is your directness to the point of I feel like you're someone who looks below the surface of what we see and what we hear and what we feel. And I'm just wondering where that comes from.
I think that I love to understand like what's really going on. So like I feel like I go into a restaurant, I'm always like, people are like, hey, how's your day going? I'm like, good. What really bothers you about your job? And they're like, what? Like I like to understand what's at stake, what's been going on. Like what are things about podcasting, George, that you really enjoy or that you found to be really frustrating? I love hearing those little intricacies and those details. So when I got into fitness, I mean, fitness is just rife with just bullshit, right? People selling supplements and fat burners and like promoting these things that don't necessarily work or are like actually really, really unhealthy for people. There's MLMs. The supplement industry is like a $10 billion industry in 2018. I don't even know what it is now. So we just see so much of this stuff that's just absolute dog shit. And I want to be able to be a voice of reason and be able to be like, hey, George, if you have a supplement you want me to take a look at, I'm going to give you the truth of it because I've done all that research and I've looked at like what's appropriate and what needs to change. So I just wanted to be that resource, that person that people can go to and get the real honest answer. And then while still like connecting enough with my community that they feel okay, like dropping me a picture and being like, hey, what do you think about this pre-workout? Hey, what do you think about my form on this? Because I think that that's like critical to the learning process. And if I can just be out here just educating and breaking some myths slowly, I think that's only going to help people in the long run because there is so much out here in the fitness industry. It's the Wild West.
Do you think coaches, not just in fitness industry, do you think coaches shy away from that?
No, I don't necessarily think so, but I also don't think that many coaches have a ton of expertise in all these areas. Because the fitness industry is a revolving door. A lot of people get into it the same mentality that I did. It's a stopgap. I'm going to do this until I figure out what I want to be when I grow up. I never figured that out, so I'm just staying in it. So most of the time people are in fitness for 2 years. That's kind of the average. So 2 years just isn't a long enough time to become an expert in anything. So I always knew that if I just stayed in this and I stayed focused and I kept writing and I kept reading and I just kept researching, I was eventually going to be a master of this craft. And so I knew that when in 2008, 2009, when I was first starting off, and now 13 years later, I can objectively look back and be like, I know a ton about fitness. I know a ton about nutrition. I know a ton about supplementation. I can help you out with 97% of all your questions in those arenas. So I don't think it's that people shy away from it. I just don't think they have confidence because they haven't spent the hours.
And I think there's a lot to say, and you've got to do the work. You got as much. You can't have 13 years experience without doing 13 years experience. Like I can't be like I'm 20, like I'm 28 years old. I'm gonna be 29 at the end of this month. I can't be 29 at 21. I have to get to 29, and I think that's the same. People want results that happen over years, overnight.
Yeah, we want it yesterday. We want that Amazon Prime results, right?
Yeah.
In your fitness, in our businesses, in our experiences. But like, that's just not how life works. I love what you just said. Like, print that, put it on a shirt, sell it everywhere. You can't be 29 at 21. You don't have that experience.
Yeah.
You've never done the things. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing I love about fitness is that you can't cheat your push-ups. You have to put in the reps. And in a previous episode, I think you were really talking about that, it's all about reps. It's all about time under the bar. It's all about experiences and just consistency. And that's the biggest difference maker, right? Between me and someone else is I've been really consistent for 13 years. And it's not like I'm better than anyone. I'm not like the sharpest bulb in the shed. It's just that I've done this and I've done it and I've done it and I've done it. And I've failed like a bajillion times. I'll tell you all about all the companies I've started that have sucked.
Ability. I genuinely believe ability is such a tiny part of success. Like I genuinely think to the point where I don't even, if you have a zero ability, I think you should still go for something, because I genuinely believe the difference is in what you're talking about. Have you got the endurance? Have you got the stamina? Have you got enough? Have you got enough? What's the right word here I'm looking for? Oh, God help me. The word I'm looking for is, have you got enough endurance to do the work when you don't want to? And do you know what, Nate? This is why I love the gym, because in the gym you're either gonna do the extra rep or you're not, and the results will show if you've done the rep or if you haven't. And it's that simple.
And it's not one extra rep on Thursday either. It's have you done every single extra rep for the last 4 years?
Yeah.
You'll see that. We're going to see that in your tank top, bro.
Yeah, 100%. And well, I think I always use fitness to convey like sort of quite complex mind, because the mindset industry is really good at like making things seem really complex, but actually it's just super simple. And the gym is just such a good way to just be simple and just to break it down. So you mentioned about failed companies. I think obviously you're a successful business guy. I've been following you for a while. We spoke. You're successful in your niche. Speak to me a little bit about the failures.
So I started working as a personal trainer in 2008, and I made $18,000 my first year. So just a little hair under the poverty line. I could have applied for food stamps. I didn't realize I was poor. I just was like, I'm making money. So that wasn't great. I ended up having to quit that job to get another job so I could have insurance, because I thought I had testicular cancer. So that ended up not being optimal for me. Then in 2013, I started a company called Grab and Go Workout. And I was like, George, okay, this is it. I'm going to put workouts up on the internet and people can buy them. It'll be like the Apple iTunes store, but for workouts. You buy them for $1. Amazing idea, right? So I spent several $1,000s and thousands of hours developing this website and creating all these things. And I had 0 sales, not even a single sale, not even one. So that was a rough one, but I learned a ton about SEO. I learned a ton about web design. I learned a ton about what not to do when it comes to creating companies. And then I kept repeating that lesson because I'm consistent. I keep doing the same things wrong. And then I started a company called Bod in a Box, which I was like, okay, this is it. I'm just going to kill it for me. My wife and I traveled through South America for about a year. Cool. And I hit all my workouts. I worked out 4 days per week, at least, for the entire time I was traveling. I was in hostels. I was in parks. I was raining. I was just like all the time. And I attributed it to this set of equipment that I had. So I had some bands, I had a TRX, I had some other stuff. And I created all these workouts for myself. And I basically was like, oh, I should just bring this to the public. So I put it in a little bag. So it was bought in a bag, but that sounded a little bit morbid. So I was like, bought in a box, right? I'll ship it to you in a box. And so I wanted to be Peloton at that point. So I was like, all right, I'll send you the equipment. You pay me $50 a month and I'll write your workouts. And I put all these things together. I had thousands of email sequences and like, here's your workout. And why don't you just do your workout and all these like really complicated things. And I wouldn't say it was like an abject failure. I sold all of them, but it just wasn't a good business model. People didn't use them. I went over to someone's house because they were like, I can't figure out how to use my bod in a box. And I went over to their house and it was still in its like wrapping. It was still in like the plastic wrap with like the zip ties on it. I was like, oh, it's because you didn't use scissors to open it. That's why you can't figure it out. I was like, this sucks. Cause like I wasn't getting results either. People weren't doing the stuff.
Yeah. So this one you had, previous one, 0 success. Next one, small success, maybe bad business model around it. Cool. Yes. So like we can see that there's progression in that already.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to go into all of them. How many other businesses did you do?
Two other bad ones, and then the one I'm in right now.
That's awesome. So
this one basically,
four.
Yeah, man, I'm on fifth iteration, basically 6 if you count personal training.
What's your biggest lesson from all that?
In terms of marketing and business, it's ask the people what they want before you just bring it to market. And that's a lesson that I should have learned like 8 years ago, but I just didn't, because I just kept doing things that I wanted to do. And I'm a fitness professional. And so that doesn't give me a ton of good ideas about what regular people want. And I'm like, oh, you know what they're going to want? This fitness robot thing that I think is super cool and nerdy. And they're like, we don't want that. We don't even know how to use that. I'm like, oh, dang it, I forgot to ask. So ask the people what they want before you bring it out and roll it out and do all your website and do all your design and your branding and sourcing and stuff like that. That's my number one takeaway.
How do you go about asking your clients this? Would it be email, text? How would you do it?
So I actually just went through this process with my podcast, The Low Carb Hustle, because I'm trying to rebrand it. I was going to change the name a little bit, tweak it. So I booked like 10 interviews with people who I felt like are in my ideal demographic, the people that I'm really looking to serve. So generally for me, those are people who are kind of in their 30s and 40s. They're millennials. They've got kids. They're kind of like, they're who I am. And they're not new to the gym. They were in shape before, they used to work out, and now they've fallen off. They've been a plateau. There's been something, they're stuck. So I interviewed 10 of those people and I was like, what keeps you up at night? What are your fears? What is annoying for you? What is your goal? What are trends you're seeing in fitness? That sort of thing. So I asked them a bunch of questions. And then I reached out to I have 2 communities. One is like a private client community with all my clients. And then one is a community on Facebook that has like 2,500 people in it. And they're not all clients, but they're kind of just, talk about fitness and health and nutrition. And I just put out a poll in both of those things. And I was like, hey, what are you looking for when it comes to X, Y, and Z? And one thing I've learned about that is that always give them options, because if you just ask people like, what do you think you should do? Like either they're going to say, I don't know, or they're going to just reach for the last thing they thought of and be like, you should do apple cider vinegar gummies. And I'm like, that's not what I was talking about.
It might not be accurate.
Right. So giving them a couple options. And I think that was really helpful for me. So in the group, I asked basically like, give me a word or phrase that really summarizes what your physical goal is at the moment. And what I came back with was everyone was saying lean, everyone was saying strong, everyone was saying longevity. Okay. So like improving your quality and length of life.
See, it's interesting. I would never have got that. I would never have guessed that last one. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you're in the frame, you can't understand what people are thinking about or hearing. So that's interesting. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So the longevity piece, I would have never guessed that either. So I titled my podcast, rather than changing it from the Low Carb Hustle to something else, I was going to call it like How to Get Lean or something like that. I ended up keeping it Low Carb Hustle, and then I put the subheading of Get Leaner, Live Longer, Be Legendary. So that's, I think, kind of encompasses what the people that I'm trying to speak to and what the concepts I'm trying to teach really is all about. Obviously we want to get leaner, look good, right? We want to live longer, be there for our kids. And then I think the legendary component is just like, who wants to be normal? I am not a normal individual. I do a lot of weird stuff, but I try to live my life on my terms rather than kind of what society says that I should be doing. Right.
Yeah. I think objectively, I don't think anyone doesn't want to be a legend. Like even if you don't like sort of set out to do it. Like, I feel like you don't want to be like, yeah, no, I'm not a legend and I don't want to be one. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if you're listening to this and you disagree with me, just write a comment or something.
Bro, honestly, I don't think people who are listening to this podcast will have that opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. So, Nate, talk to me about mindset. When I say the word mindset, How has mindset impacted your life?
So I think that there's two things that I think of like when I hear the word mindset. Number one is self-talk, and number two is discipline. And so in terms of self-talk, I feel like I have a really strong game here, and it's been a long time in the making, but I really don't let myself speak negatively about myself, my future possibilities for me. And even when I'm joking, I have a hard time like saying the things that like, oh, I'm so stupid, or I never get that right. You know, I hate that type of language because I think it's self-fulfilling and self-perpetuating. So I really get on to clients about this, about, oh, I'm not strong. I'm not good in the gym. I'm not good with technology, whatever else. Like, I'm like, okay, maybe that's true, but would it be equally accurate, George, to say I get better in the gym every single time I go? Would those two things both be accurate to say I'm not good versus I get better every time I go? And I go, yeah. And I go, okay, well, which one serves your mission right now? Which one is actually going to help you move forward? And I think that's an important piece, because there's a lot of things that are true or could be true, but like similar, if you just reframe it in a positive way, it can be true also, and it can be more applicable to what the goal is you're trying to set. So if you don't mind not being legendary, and if you just are okay being normal, you know, being $30,000 in debt, being overweight, you know, having pre-diabetes, if that's your life, then yeah, totally feel free to be like, oh, I'm not good at technology. I'm not good. I've never been a good runner. I'm not a good sleeper. Like, all those things are self-perpetuating and self-fulfilling. So feel free to keep saying those. But if you want more, if you want to be a legend, you need to fix that self-talk, because you believe everything you say, right? So that's like the first thing that I think about when it comes to mindset. The second
No, I
thing
completely agree.
is that discipline. And I think a lot of times people go back to like Jocko Willink and they're like, okay, discipline over motivation, right? Don't need to be motivated, just need to be disciplined. But I think it even goes one level deeper to identity. Because identity is identity over discipline, discipline over motivation, because we will never act outside of our own personal identity at how we see ourselves. So I have not missed a workout since.
Say that again. Just say that. That was perfect. Just say that again.
So identity over discipline, over which is over motivation, because we will never act outside of our identity and who we believe we are. So I was going to say, and this is a little humble brag here, but I've not missed a workout since November 11th, 2015. And the reason for that is because I am a fit person. I believe that about myself. I am a consistent person, and I'm a hardworking person. That's my identity around who I am. And so for me to hit my workouts on a regular basis isn't a question. It's not an if, it's a when, because that's who I am. Similarly, I had a conversation with a guy who I did not end up signing up for the program because we had some serious work to do ahead of time. But he goes, I'm the fat guy. I'm the fat, funny guy who eats a lot. Now it's his identity.
Yeah.
And so like, I was like, man, we can't, like, there's no program, nutrition, workout, whatever, that's going to fix that for you until we start changing your identity and who you believe and who you see yourself to be. Because you could, even if you're running all the time and eating kale salads, if you're still the fat, funny guy in your mind, then you will eventually act in.
You're fighting yourself. You're having a fight with yourself.
Every time you make a decision, it's a fight.
Yeah.
And that's not sustainable.
No. And I think they say it in, and I love what you're saying, because I've never thought about it as part of an identity, but you're absolutely right. Yesterday, I was at, I was in A&E, the accident and emergency department. I don't know. I think it's the same out there in US, and I was there from 5 p.m. till past midnight. And so I was there 7 hours, 8 hours, which is pretty normal in the UK. And I was starving. I didn't eat. And all that was around was sort of like junk food and things like that. And even though I wanted to eat, I couldn't. Not because I wasn't hungry, not because I was disciplined, because I see food differently now. Because it's part of my identity about, right, eating healthy is not just about eating healthy. It's actually about having more energy to pursue my dreams, to be motivated, to become successful, and because I see it differently, and it's, as you said, it's now become part of my identity. It's not about choices anymore. It's about who I want to be, who I am. And then it's the same thing. So I got back, I went to sleep 1 a.m. and I had to get up at 5:30. Now I could have cancelled that 5:30, no problem. But again, identity, my discipline has become part of what fuels my identity. I want to be a successful person. I want to be the best version I can of myself, which is sort of, that's my mantra, if you like. So therefore, lo and behold, I've been up since 5:30, 4.5 hours sleep, which I don't like, by the way, and I don't do that often because I believe in sleep. Um, but yeah, so I agree, and I can relate to that.
Dang, dude, you have a ton of energy for having been going now for like what, like 12, 13 hours on 4 hours of sleep. I appreciate you showing up for this, man.
Yeah, but bro, I could do this all night. And
You're
that's
like,
the
that's
truth.
who I am.
Yeah, that's exactly, and that's the truth of it. Like, mate, listen, I'm a Christian. I pray today. Just give me as much energy as possible today. And like, I'm here because it's part of my identity. Like, I love this shit. Like, this is the hustle. Like this is what I love to do. It's funny how I just spoke about being a Christian and swearing in the same sentence. I'm working on that. I'm working on that. I'm working on that.
I'm in the
But yeah,
same
man.
boat. I love it.
Yeah, and listen, I love it, and I'm conscious of the time. I know we got a few minutes left, so you're speaking right now to young entrepreneurs, people working on their mindset, and people driving for success. What would be your final words to them?
I mean, I got two things. Number one is as like a catch-all, like if you're out there and you're struggling, if you were going through the stuff that I was talking about earlier of all these failures in your business and stuff like that, just know that it's part of a bigger story and you cannot lose if you do not quit. Success is guaranteed. Success is already owed to you. It is there. It's waiting for you. You just can't lose if you don't quit. You're not going to be a professional football player. Like that's okay. But for the rest of us, if we want to have great success in our fitness, great success in our business, great success in our relationships, it's there. It's waiting for you. You just can't stop. And from a really practical level, wake up, drink a quart of water, drink a liter of water. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll rate that. I'll rate
Do
that.
that,
Well, it's
do that
definitely
every
one of
single day for the rest of your life. Drink a liter of water when you wake up.
yeah. I'll rate that. I need to do that. I'm on a glass at the moment, and that still feels good. Like I'm on about 2 liters. I'm on about 2 liters a day. That's me at the moment. 2 liters a day. Need to try to get that up to 3. So my personal trainer says. Nate, where can people find you?
Check out the Low Carb Hustle, the Low Carb Hustle podcast. Get leaner, live longer, be legendary. Or if you find me on Instagram at Low Carb Hustle, that's the best place to connect. And then if you want to check out my book, I wrote a book all about the nutrition protocol I was talking about. It kind of comes out in a 28-day challenge, basically at the end of it. You can go to Amazon. It's called The $1 Million Body Method. Or if you go to getnatesbook.com, you can just have it for free. I'll send you an ebook.
I'll put all of that in the description. So listen, if you're still here, you're still listening, you know what to do. Drop a comment, go follow Nate, go listen to his podcast, subscribe, follow, comment, tell a friend to tell a friend. If you're still here, we'll see you next time. Thank you. God bless. Let's go.